Mad. I want you to get mad. Mad. Today, we are joined by Omaha mayoral candidate Kimara Snipes. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Awesome. She's an Omaha native, community leader, Omaha Public Schools board member, and more. So check out her website, kimarasnipes.com, to find out more about her campaign and donate. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. I'm in great spirits. I feel great. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a Saturday.
Good.
It's not death cold out like it was about a week ago. So
Right. Right. Getting ready to walk and knock on doors today. The weather is absolutely amazing.
hey, perfect weather for that.
Yes. Yes.
Now, I want to learn a little bit about you before we
Mhm.
get into your policies and stuff. What
Mhm.
was your motivation for running for mayor?
Well, really, I got, I think my foundation, I would say, in motivation really started with neighborhood associations, which I've been involved with for probably about 15 years. Through that, I became involved with the South Omaha Neighborhood Alliance, which acts somewhat as an umbrella group for neighborhood associations, and we really work to enhance the South Omaha neighborhoods. And so through that, built a relationship with my elected officials, my local elected officials, city council, county government, state senate, and even Congress. And so through that, I recognize that, hey, these people put their pants on the same way I do, which is really one leg at a time. Started learning more about how city government ran and just got very interested in it. And I saw it as a way to really help with some of the situations that even I was dealing with. I am someone who lives in the only concentrated area of poverty in South Omaha, and every day I see, what's happening and what's not good. And so last year, when COVID began to shut the city down, I created task forces, and it was in that moment when I realized, this is actually something that I could and should do. And so I was really motivated and encouraged by my friends and my family and other leaders in the community. So I decided to throw my name in the hat.
Awesome. And you mentioned COVID as part of the reason that kind of pushed you towards running for mayor. With COVID cases down, and hopefully they stay down, we hope the pandemic is, close to its end by the time you become mayor. But what is the first, if it's not, if we're still dealing with COVID, what's the first policy change that you would implement that should have been implemented months ago?
I mean, we have to keep that mask mandate. I find it very unfortunate that the city of Omaha was the last major city in the nation to have one. I live in zip code 68107, which in Omaha has had the highest positive cases. This is something that's very serious. Everyone I know has lost someone to COVID. And so, in my mind, it's continuing with that mask mandate. We have to listen to the experts. Science should never, ever be a debate. And this is something that I consistently have thought about just being a member of the Omaha Public School Board, right? And so that's the most specific thing. And then, of course, outside of policy, working with those who have the facts, and then continuing the work of the task forces that we started.
Awesome. And a aspect of COVID that is kind of ignored that you kind of hinted on there is how people of color are disproportionately affected by COVID-19, just by economic status itself.
Mhm.
So, what are some of your plans to help that on the COVID side of it?
We also have to educate. We have to educate people, and then we have to start addressing some of these underlying issues, diabetes, different health issues. A lot of this, and not just even around COVID, a lot of different issues come down to education. We have to find a way to communicate with the entire community, right? Omaha, Nebraska. Let's think about Omaha Public Schools, right? Within Omaha, Nebraska, 52,000 students speaking over 100 languages. We have to make sure we're sharing information with all communities, educating all communities with the facts. And you can do that, and you can be aggressive with it as well to make sure we're really, really getting that information out. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love your focus on education. Let's move on
Absolutely.
to racial justice here. So,
Mhm.
with the events last summer, racial justice is still fresh in everybody's mind. On July 25th, the Omaha police kettled and arrested over 100 protesters and then jailed them in unsafe COVID conditions. Uh, what will you do to make the Omaha police work for the people?
You know, police and community is something that I have actually focused on for a long time, and not just myself. It's something that's very important to our neighborhood association. We have actively worked on police and community engagement. To me, it's about making sure that we're sitting down and having the very serious and tough conversations that we have to have. I explained to Chief Schmaderer and to the mayor and to the governor last summer when the protests were taking place that unless you are talking about vetting police officers, and not after they're hired, but before, right? Unless you're talking about looking at your procedures, use of force, things like that, restraint policies, and actively, intentionally, and aggressively talking about diversity training. I recognize that the deputy chiefs of police are the ones who come up with the strategic plan. So these five deputy chiefs need to actively and intentionally work on including diversity training within the police department. And then I think I've asked Chief Schmaderer, how does the police department even define community policing? I'm a researcher by nature. So when you research community policing, you see that there's no standard definition. So even within our own neighborhood association, we've worked really hard to try to create the definition of what we think that is. And so for us, it also means addressing root causes. So bringing resources to the neighborhoods, jobs to the neighborhoods. We have an event every year, National Night Out, which is celebrated nationwide. We bring Heartland Workforce Solutions. We bring nonprofits. We bring food, everything to the community, to the neighborhood, because we recognize that if you address these issues, crime does go down. Also, with neighborhood associations, it's a fact that when you know your neighbors and continue those interactions, crime goes down as well. So we have to address root causes. We have to address policy. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I think that having that perspective of wanting community policing is so important to actually fixing the problem. It's not a band-aid, it's actually a solution.
Right. And I would also say that community policing, a lot of it I see directed towards the younger, 6, 7, 8 years old, like that, right? And that's great and that's beautiful. And we should get to children at a very young age. But community policing should also be for 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds. There are different things that we can do at all these different age groups to be a benefit. So, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So let's move on to one of your policies, which I really enjoy. I saw it on your website. The people watching right now, feel free to go check out her website for all her policies that she has on there. I loved your connectivity for all plan. How will having internet access for all Omaha people help the citizens and the economy?
2020 showed us that internet connectivity is almost as important as food and water. That's the reason why we as a board approved the purchase of all those iPads for our students. We recognize that. We have to have internet. In my neighborhood right now, broadband is horrible. Our kids have to have access. And part of that access to equity, right? To equitable education means having internet. And not just for our kids, but for our parents, for our families as well. Everything we do now is lending towards using the internet. And now with COVID, the world is going to become even more technological. So we have to, if we want our families to keep up, if we want our families to be able to take care of themselves, they have to have access to internet. And it makes no sense to me that we can go across the bridge and have a city that invests in that. We need to do that here. We have to.
Yeah, I think that's a very good perspective to have on this, is that, it's not like Omaha everywhere has horrible internet. It's very much segregated in a way that is bad for your community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. East Omaha, period. And not just East Omaha. I would say that if you talk to people in West Omaha as well, you still have pockets out there too. Sarpy County as well. So it's not, granted, East Omaha has a significant issue, but the issue exists outside of East Omaha as well. So this is really a citywide issue. A citywide issue. I think families should be something we're all invested in. That's how we move our city forward.
Awesome. And I think like internet access, this is an idea that I haven't seen talked about a lot. It's one that kind of gets forgotten about, But with COVID-19, it's so important for education, jobs. I mean, they don't put jobs in the newspaper anymore. They put them on
Yep.
Indeed, online, stuff like
Yep.
that. You have to apply online and all that. So,
Yep.
very important policy. Uh,
Absolutely.
Another very important policy for people my age in particular is climate and sustainability. Your opponent, Mark Gudgel, has a lot of policy plans for sustainability. Two of those plans are having like allowing the plastic bag ban that was vetoed by the current mayor, and then getting electric buses and having them built in Omaha. What are your plans to make Omaha green and create good paying jobs at the same time?
Right. Um, I agree. We have to invest in that. We have to take care of where we live. I mean, we've been seeing in the news the past few days what happens if we don't and when we don't. We're in a bad place. I think that, and I appreciate Mark Gudgel and I appreciate his ideas too. The South Omaha Neighborhood Alliance, as a matter of fact, when that plastic bag ban came about, we advocated for that. We wrote in, we sent a letter in and everything. We were definitely in support, and there's great ideas. And then unfortunately, there's reality. And so, it can be my idea all day long, but we have to have it in the budget. And we also have to make sure that the city council will pass it. If it comes to me, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think we should definitely have a plastic bag ban. My plan is to continue to listen to those who know. I'm not sure, you may not know Don Preister, but he sits on my leadership team for SONA. I mean, solar panels, the man hasn't thrown away trash in 20 years. He's a guru. And I listen to him. And my plan is to continue to listen to the experts who know. I actually have a meeting coming up with a gentleman who I met at the coffee shop just the other day, and he's talking to me about solar energy. And I told him, I said, you know what? I don't know everything about it, without a doubt, but I would love to listen and learn more and find ways that we can actually help our city and bring jobs here. So I think as a mayor, it's my responsibility again to listen to those people who know, to have the empathy and care for the city that I live in, to want to invest in solutions like this. And I definitely want to.
Awesome, awesome. So last Wednesday was the current mayor's State of the City address. She was very optimistic about 2021. Do you share that same optimism if she continues to be mayor of Omaha?
No, the mayor was very optimistic, but the thing about it is that she's essentially taking credit for things that she did not do. Um, she does not have the ability, in my personal opinion, to really think outside the box and provide those solutions. When it came to COVID-19, I myself started the first COVID-19 task forces in Omaha, Nebraska. She talked about UNMC. I mean, that was really the result of the Durham research centers that were built. My former state senator, who also ran for mayor prior to me, got funding for that project. The city and the county found revenue for it, and she voted no against it, right? When we talk about the police department and the steps being taken there, we shouldn't have had to wait for a lawsuit to implement these things, right? We need someone with the foresight who's willing to take action and not wait. When COVID happened, the city should not have had to wait. The city should not have made science a debate when it came to these mask mandates. So I don't have faith in her ability to lead this city into a 21st century city. If that were going to happen, we'd be there.
Yeah, that's totally true. There are a lot of failures that the mayor has had, just if you just look in the past year with COVID. There's, I don't think I could count them on my fingers. So it's very important to kind of recognize her issues so that you can make them better.
Yes.
And my next question here is, what makes you different from the other candidates? The Omaha primary is very competitive. There's a lot of Democratic candidates. What
Absolutely.
makes you different?
Well, now that Jim Kavanaugh has stepped out of the race, I'm the only elected official that stands between Gene Stother and a third term. In OPS, we have led through a pandemic. There's only 3 cities, I believe, in the state of Nebraska that have larger populations in OPS. We've led through a pandemic. Our budget is larger than the city of Omaha's general fund. Outside of that, my history, what I bring. If you listen as I talk, and this is nothing negative, my experiences are what make me who I am. I'm not talking about what I'm going to do. I'm talking about what I've already been doing. And so the plan is to take that right to City Hall with me. A lot of our candidates, again, this is just me being factual, have been kind of in their areas. A lot of people represent North Omaha or West Omaha. True, I'm from South Omaha, but I have been actively engaged in North and South Omaha all my life. And so I bring that with me as well. Um, yeah, I think that would
Awesome.
be my answer.
Now, one thing that and I apologize for referencing Gudgel's policies. I
Oh,
interviewed
no,
him
you're
last week,
fine.
as you probably know.
Yeah,
So I'm just like, oh, I have to compare these in my brain. That's just how my brain works.
no,
But
that's fine.
Gudgel has a marijuana policy. Obviously, the mayor cannot legalize marijuana. That's not within the jurisdiction. But he did talk a lot about making it so that the Omaha police enforced marijuana laws less. What is your perspective on that?
I'm not well, I think that we should look at any sort of law that disproportionately affect any people of color or not. I mean, we should always be paying attention to that. I love these ideas, but we have to continue to work in the community as leaders. We have a number of people who are working on issues like this. So I will always advocate for making sure that people are not disproportionately affected when it comes to these laws. We were talking just the other day even about if you drive up and down Cummings Street, people are always driving 10 miles over the speed limit. So this opens people up to being pulled over and given tickets disproportionately as well. So I think we have to look at all policies when it comes to the disproportionate minority contact that happens here in Omaha, Nebraska, whether it's marijuana, whether it's which by the way is a non-violent crime, right? I think we're even taking this is even bigger than a city issue. This is a state issue as well when it comes to the state penitentiary and things like that. So I think we have to look at anything, especially when it's tapping our resources unnecessarily, right? So I have no problem looking at it. I say we research it intentionally and work with the city, work with our state senators, work with whoever we have to really look at that, but be intentional with it, not just talk about it, but really sit down and study it. So that way, when it's time to make it happen, we can really make it happen.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm going to circle back a little bit to police reform here. What is your perspective on giving more social worker type training to police?
Oh, I absolutely. I've been doing some research and looking into see what other cities are doing around mental health. Absolutely. I mean, our officers need that. Absolutely. I've talked about training numerous times when it comes to the police department. They need that type of training. They need diversity training. It's for their own good. It's for the community's good. We need more empathy when it comes to dealing with our community. A lot of people are out here suffering from trauma, and that has only gone up since COVID came about. So we definitely have to find an approach. We definitely have to find an approach. It's really unnecessary. I was watching the gentleman who died just not that long ago. They've been talking about the news. He had a mental health condition, right? We have to find ways to work with the community, which means really listening and understanding, practicing intellectual curiosity to see what else is working. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. What makes you mad? There has to be something to make you run for mayor.
Oh yeah. It makes no sense to be in Omaha, Nebraska and not be a 21st century city. It makes me mad that we could be so much further than where we are if we just practice innovation. It makes me mad that we have a 3% unemployment rate, but I can go to certain zip codes and it's much higher than that. It makes me mad that people don't have equal access to education and opportunities and resources. I get mad when I walk outside my house and I see my neighborhood compared to the mayor's neighborhood, right? These things make me mad. Everybody should have access, fair, equal access, and I just don't see it. So there are a lot of things that make me, and mad isn't even the word. My mom used to say, dogs get mad, people get angry. So I guess I get angry, but that's only for a small period of time because I'm an action person, and there's no sense in getting angry if I'm not going to follow it up by doing something about it. Right. So all those things combined together are definitely what makes me angry enough to run for mayor.
Awesome, awesome. And angry is probably a better word, but branding.
Oh,
Where can people find out more about your policies?
absolutely. Please visit my website, which is kimarasnipes.com, and that's KIMARASNIPES. And if you go to my website, that's my cell phone number on there. You can also call me, text me, email me, whatever you want to do. I try to make myself accessible because I also like to hear from people on what they feel the largest issues facing our city are. So I'm open to conversation and dialogue. I'm also open to ideas as well. I can never do this by myself. This takes the work of many. I believe in collaboration and connection, and I would love to connect with you. You can also click join the team if you'd like to support, and you can also donate, which I would greatly appreciate.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Jacob. I really enjoyed it.